Hey everybody, this is Chris with Old Liberty Sheds and Structures. I got James with me today. Hey. James is one of my carpenters, and we're gonna build a shed. We're gonna do a step-by-step series on how to build a shed. It's gonna be a small one. It's a 6 foot by 8 foot shed. But one of the things we want to teach you is how to build a shed with a floor system that is a movable shed. What is gonna be industry standard for like your shed trailers, where you go and you see these shed lots where you can have a portable shed. We want to show you how to build the shed so you can take it with you if you're ever going to move, go to a different area, or if you just want to start building sheds on your own and selling them to people as a portable shed builder. So this is going to be a multiple part series, and we're going to go start with the floor system will be part 1, and then we'll go on to the walls will be part 2, framing a roof will be 3, adding doors and windows and trim and paint, kind of as we go. We'll break it up in different parts. So we want to help people out to do their own projects, save a little money, and also help people learn how to do to use their hands. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, share with your friends, and ask questions about things that you'd like to know some more about. So, all right, like I stated, this is a 6 by 8 shed. We're going to have a rim that is a little smaller, so we're going to be 71 1/4 wide. By what did we say? We're going to be an inch short of 8 feet, because what we like to do is we like to incorporate the width of our siding and the width of our trim to give us that 6 by 8 footprint. So we're going to be using material wise, we're going to be using 4x4s for the runner, pressure treated 4x4s. We're going to be using 2x4 floor joists. On a 6 foot, 8 foot wide shed, you can get away with 2x4 floor joists because your runners are going to act as a girder, and of course they're going to be supported. But in this case, it's a 6 foot wide shed. We're going to use 2x4s. Anything over 8 foot wide, you're going to want to use 2x6s, and then add runners when you even get wider than that. So we're going to use 2x4 pressure treated floor joists, Advantech subfloor, and we usually use LP Legacy, but we didn't feel like going to that supplier. We stayed local and went to Lowe's and got Advantech, and pressure treated 4x4 floor joists. That's really all we're going to need material wise. So since our joists are going to be going left and right the 6 foot width, we decided to get 2x4x12s and just cut them down, try to save costs on material. So we're using 2x4x8 pressure treated, 2x4x12 pressure treated, 4x4x8 pressure treated, and then Advantech subfloor for our floor system. So we're going to get started on that, and we're going to kind of show you step by step and go over some things so we can give you an industry standard floor for a movable shed to be used for like a Pine Hill trailer that's for shed delivery. So all right, we'll get to it. All right, so on this build we're going to be doing the outside edge of our 4x4s from here to here. We want to space those at 64 inches or 5'4". Normally we would shoot for around 5'11" for outside to outside. And the reason why that's important, on these shed trailers, they have the decking on these trailers, they actually have like a channel for their decking is actually 2 pieces, and the runners slide up there, and they actually have walls on the edges so that shed can't shift off. So you need to make sure that you get your runners to fit in between those channels on that deck. Normally 5'11" is where we want to stick to, but our shed is going to be 6 foot wide. So if we go 5'11", we're not leaving ourselves any room to get straps to go from the runner down to the trailer deck to strap the shed down. So we're going to go with 5'4". That's going to be fine in order for it to sit on there, and we're still going to have room when the rim joist gets on there to be able to get the buckle from the strap to go between the runner and the rim joist so it can strap down to the trailer. All right, one of the things we're doing here is we're making notches on the end of our runners to kind of act like skis, so they don't, so the bottom, this is going to be on the ground when they're moving the sheds into place, and so we don't want it digging into the ground when they're dragging it into place. So what we're doing is we find our 4x4, right, and I'm going to flip it to the side. We're going to mark down with our square 1.5 inches, right? 1.5 inches. And then we want to make sure we remember where our bottom is. So I just put a little X there to remember. And then what we're going to do is, when I can get my orientation on my speed square, I'm holding the camera at the same time, we're going to do a 45-degree line. All right, 45 degrees. We're going to transfer that line across because we're using a smaller saw. Bigger saw would actually help, but we don't have one, so we're going to use what we have. There's my 1.5 inches again. And I'm going to transfer my 45 down there. And then I'm going to connect. Oh, it's already connected, so that way when he cuts, he's going to be able to cut that 45. All right, so since we got our 4x4s notched like that right there on all ends, we want to find where 64 inches goes, because we want the outside of the 4x4s to be at 64 inches. So James found the center of this inner 2x4. That's going to be the inner. So we're going to do a double band on the end on our rim. So this is the inner band on the end of the rim for the 6-foot side, right? So he found the center section and he went over 32 inches that way and 32 inches that way, and with his mark. And what we're going to do is, we know these are going to fit directly on the end here like that. So James, go kick that end a little bit towards me. Yeah. Okay, we know this one's going to sit on the end because we want the double band to be flush with the end of this, and then the outer band is actually going to be 1.5 inch overhang. So we're going to find our mark, and then all we're going to do now is take the nail gun. We got our mark there. We're going to take the nail gun and we're just going to pop a nail in, and we're going to do the same thing down here. We're going to find our mark, which is right here. So we are going to line that up like so. Make sure we're flush down here. Hold on. And he's going to pop a nail in there. And he's going to repeat that down on this end as well. So now we're going to have our inner is going to be lined up on our runners exactly where they need to be. And now this is all so we can make sure we're going to be where we need to be for the trailer. So James is going to line it up right there. And he's going to be flush on this end. And he's going to shoot a nail in. All right, I'm going to come down and repeat this process down on this end. Line that up. Okay, now he's going to take his outer rim, which he already has marked for the joist pockets. So that one right there for the floor joist should line right up with this. But he also needs to make sure that when he lays out for his joist locations, he's accounting for this one on the end so that the subfloor lines up properly. So since his runners are 4x4 and he has scrap 4x4s, he should be able to take that 4x4 and stick it right on top of his temporary support that we're using. We're using these 6x6 Eastern White Pines as a base to build the floor on. And since he's got a 4x4 and a 4x4, he can just stick, not perfect, or spacers. See how you use the 4x4 block on that to hold that one right where it's at. Now, sometimes these are going to be a little crooked. It is pine, so we just need to make sure that when we get our nails in, that we use our your hammer with the claw, that you can actually straighten the 2x4s out. Or you can use a screw and your drill and kind of pull it. He's using his hammer. Need a little bit of love. Needs a little love.
Perfect.
He loved it well. All right. So he's gonna shoot 2 nails into that, and he's gonna come down and do the exact same thing. Now that we're at this spot, we know we're not 100% level, but we are screwed into our runner where we are nailed into our runner where we need to be. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put a level on this rim all the way around, and we're gonna level it up, and we're gonna use shingles. We're gonna use some trim pieces or whatever we need to do to kind of shim between the runner and this board that we're using as a foundation base just to build this shed off. We want to get our floor level now. So James is going to go ahead and put the level on there, and he's going to start shimming in order to get it where it needs to be and level. Here's where we're at right now, if you can see the bubble. I don't know if you can see it or not. A little out, but with a little bit of shim work, it's going to be level. All right, so he's got a 6-foot level on that end and a 4-foot level on this end, and he's now shimming with pieces of LP trim between this 6x6 base and the 4x4 runner to get this floor system level. So that's what we found is the quick and easy way, is to build your rim joist, get your runners nailed in. Before you do your floor joist, before you do any of that, just get your rim joist together and your runners and get it on a nice solid base, and then just level it up from there. All right, now that he's got all the shims in place, he's just gonna go around and make sure he's good all the way around. What are you, high on one corner now?
I come up on that corner.
Yeah. So making sure this is level is really important, because when you start putting your walls up, and if your foundation's not level, your floor is not level, then you can't get your walls plumb and all that other good stuff. All right, now that James is done getting everything leveled, he's gonna put his outer rim on, which is the double. And that, we do that for a reason, so we can have a consistent overhang on the sides, an 1.5 inch overhang on the side for when they do underpinning. So it's for spacing, really, is what it is. If we ever want to underpin our sheds, that's what we do in order to make sure, because if you can see how these runners are right on the end of the rim joist, they're flush. We add that other one so there's an 1.5 inch lip. All right, so James is putting a screw in here so he can have something to hang his 2x4 on. Normally we build sheds together, but with this video, since it's a small shed, I kind of want to help people be able to build a shed by themselves without a friend. So again, clamps are awesome. Screws are great too. So he, down on that, let me come down there with him. Down on that end, he put a screw in so he can rest the board on it. So it's going to hold one end by itself, and he's going to nail this end in. And this end is going to line up flush with the side rim. He's got it on rapid fire. Of course, we're using galvanized nails because it's pressure treated lumber. He's just temporarily tacking it in place because he's going to want to walk the crown out of this 2x4. So it's a little high right here, so he can actually put a screw in the top, use his hammer like so to pull this outer one down so it's flush and level at the top, so he can nail it into place. All right, now that it's, so he can go ahead and nail this one in all the way down since it's flush all the way. All right, I helped James get this this one on. Him and I went to tag team that one. Now we want to square our floor up, right? So we want to take an overall measurement from the outside there and an overall measurement from here to there. So James is going to measure, should be 95 1/4.
95 1/4.
And this side here should be 71 1/4. 1/4. All right, go find us a piece of 2x4 we can use for a brace. All right. So what I'm gonna do is use my CM Pro calculator. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. It's kind of dark. Let me move the camera over here. So basically, we're just doing, we're gonna find what the diagonal is so we can square it up. So on CM Pro, you can do 95" 1/4 is gonna be our run. And then our rise is gonna be 71" 1 1/4 rise. And then you hit diagonal. We should be from that corner to this quarter 118 15/16 of an inch is what our square is. So we're gonna pull that measurement, and then we're gonna put a 2x4, not so big so we can't get our joists in, right? Yeah. So what we're gonna use is we're gonna take a measurement and get 118 15/16, and we're gonna square it up, and then we're gonna put a brace, a 2x4 in the corner so it doesn't move. That way we can start doing our joists. 116 1/4. So then we need to pull. You need to pull that one. Pull the whole block. Stop. Let me pull this. What do you got? 116 3/4. Yep. Still? Yep. All right, come on. So you hold that corner while I pull this one. All right, so we had to do a little persuasion. It was really out. So what we did is we put a screw from the runner down into the 6x6 on both of these runners. So one there and one there. And that allowed us to push this side that way in order to get this to lengthen, get longer. So now we're a square. So what James is doing is he's gonna put 2 screws on each side of that 2x4. And he's locking the corner in so we can start putting our joist down. Now, if we weren't going to be nailing our joist to the runner as we go, and we just put our joist in, we could use the plywood or the subfloor to square it. But since we're actually going to be nailing every joist, not only in the rim, but we're also going to nail it down to the runner, because you want to make sure, we're going to nail and screw it to the runner. You want to make sure that this shed does not come off the runners as it's going down the road.
Okay, before we move on to the floor joists, I want to address something that was missed in making this video. We're going to want to put a pull board. That pull board is going to be for when they hook the winch up and hook to the trailer and then pull the shed up onto the trailer, or when they're using the Cardinal Mule, which is like a all-terrain forklift to pull the building into place. They're going to want a board. You're going to want a board that's going to be withstand the pulling. You're not going to want it to pull against your rim joist and pull the rim joist out. So take a 2x4, lay it flat, and it's going to be from inside of the side rim to the inside of the side rim, that length. You're going to want to lay that 2x4 pressure treated flat on top of the runners, nail or screw it down to the runners, and then you're going to want to nail and screw through the rim joist into the 1.5" edge of that 2x4 on both ends, and that's going to give you a solid pull board, and it's going to go where you see the blue circles on the picture. It's going to be on the inside of the rim joist, laying flat on top of the runners at each end.
It needs to be secure to the runner. So that's why we're doing this, to get it square and using the bracing so we can put our floor joists in. Now James is going to measure inside to inside to see what his floor joists are going to be. Let me help you out, buddy. 68. Let's go to the middle one. What do you got there?
68 1/4.
Okay. So 68. Let's just go down through your brace real quick. I like to measure a couple spots to make sure we're good to go. 68. All right. So 68 is going to be our joist. So James is going to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 joists at 68 inches. And this is where he's going to use the 2x4x12s material in order to get those out of instead of buying 8-footers and wasting material. All right, we're going to cut those up. All right, so James has all his joists cut at 68 inches. I like to start with the center joist because this is going to help us make sure our long section of our rim isn't kind of walking around, right? It's going to be straight. So what he's going to do is he's going to nail the end of his joist flush into the end of the rim joist. All right, so he has that rim nailed in on this side, a joist nailed to the rim. He's going to do the same thing on that side. But before he nails it to the runner, he's going to measure his gap between the 4x4 and the rim. On that end down there, what are you?
2 inches.
And it should be 2 inches down here if we're square. That gap.
2 inches perfect.
And then he's going to make sure that gap is 2 inches, because the rim, the length of the rim could be out. And instead of pulling a string line, he can just use his tape and just take a measurement there. Now that that's good, he's going to go ahead and nail into the runner. Both sides. And he's going to do the same thing down here. We can't stress enough how important it is to make sure you're fastened to that runner. You good at 2?
Yep.
All right. And this is making sure that this line is straight. We're using that joist to kind of hold it all together. Now from here, since it's such a short run, he should be good. He's just going to go ahead and put all his joists in. And if there were longer floor joists, obviously you're going to want to pull as you go 16 on center to make sure that you're lining up with your runner. But being that this is such a short run at 6x8, it's really not necessary to do that, because there's not much bow in these 2x4s being this short. All right. But here, as you can start seeing how this runner is acting as a girder. So really our only span, James, what's the measurement between that 4x4 and 4x4? Between them.
56 and a half.
57 inches.
57 inches. So
that 2x4 is really only spanning less than 5 feet, which is perfectly within regulation and code for a 2x4 for its strength to span. So that's why we can use 2x4s on smaller sheds, because it's not really unsupported that long, and it has hardly much of a cantilever. So all right, so he's gonna go ahead and nail these in. I'm gonna help him.
Okay. I got this side. All right.
All right, what you can see James and I doing now is we are going to toenail the floor joist into the runner, one on each side. And this is to help keep the floor system tied down to the runner. Very important. Another thing you can do is chase it with screws too, so nails and screws.
The other thing we're going to do is we're going to chase the nail. We just put it with a deck screw. This is a number 10 3-inch deck screw. They countertank and self-tap and pressure treated wood. We're going to, as you see, James is going to reinforce the ends with a screw of the joist, and we're also going to put it on the runner as well. All right, so we're going to put this in real quick. I'm going to go ahead and pull the bracing off of here so we can get our subfloor on. We're not going to glue the subfloor down because, again, it is a shed. There is a price point for things, and sheds are not at the upper echelon of, you know, like we're building a house, but we also want to build a quality. But instead of using construction adhesive under the subfloor, we're going to use 2 3/8 galvanized nails that are ring shank. All right, we're going to go ahead and put this subfloor on. James is going to get this corner set right here. Make sure you're flush. He can use a speed square, he can use his fingertips, something just to make sure he's flush on that corner. Okay, and he's going to nail that corner in first. Bam. And then what he's going to do is he's going to walk down this edge, and he wants to keep this completely flush on this end as well. And he's going to nail this whole line in. Now this subfloor should be square 100% from the factory. You good? Go ahead and nail. He's going to nail it all the way down the line. Because if it's out, then he also knows this front band could be out a little bit, so he can use a screw to try to manipulate it a little bit.
You got a screw?
I do have a screw.
Right.
So he's going to put a screw in the rim, the outer rim here, and he's going to use his hammer to push that subfloor over a little bit to get it flush. There you see how he's using it to pry? Prying it over, and he's going to nail this end down. All right, then what he's going to do, obviously pull that screw out of there, and then he's going to walk this line down to get this, and that's going to get the floor 100% square if it came out at all while we were doing any framing. As you can see, it is out a little bit down that end, so he's going to kind of walk it down. He can start here and start nailing, but he can also pull as he goes to make sure, yep, just like that, he's pulling the subfloor, and that's really tweaking up our floor system to get it 100% square. Add a little bit down. We add a little bit down there.
Yep.
Okay. Now what he can do now is to make sure this end is good down here. He can take, because we got a little bit of an overhang here because we're shorter than our OSB, which is on purpose. But what he can do now is he can measure his gap here, which is 9/16, and then down here, which is 9/16. He's perfect down here. He can nail this line in. He's going to stay back a little so he doesn't obviously run over his nails when he has to cut that off with the circular saw. Now, when he starts nailing these joists in, okay, I'm going to try to work you through this. That's the end that's flush down there, right? So on a longer floor span, when you're framing, you want to run your tape measure out, okay, all the way out, and you want to make sure that your joists are sitting at 16 on center. See how those are perfect? Now if they're out a little bit, you can actually move them a little with your hammer, move these joists over so you can nail down right at 16" on center. I mean, these are pretty good already, so we want to make sure we're at 16 on center all the way down, because on like houses or bigger floor systems, if you don't do that, your seams may not line up when you're staggering your OSB. You can see, make sure. So he's gonna leave the tape measure there, make sure he gets 16" on center. That one needs to be moved a little bit. Might need to take his hammer. And now he can shoot a nail pretty much on every circle down. He knows his joists are going to line up as well. All right, so we're just going to put this on full and then we're going to rip it. But we're just going to make sure, we're just going to get a consistent mark here, like so. I want to line up this mark here and mark up that line corner. We want to mark there where this lines up to here and make a mark, and then we're going to pop a string line on it. So what we're doing now is we're giving James a reference line to know where to nail, plus we're also marking our cut. Yep. All right, so now he can nail about 1 inch inside that line all the way down. And then once it's all nailed in, we'll just go ahead and cut that off. Don't forget your first run. So if you're not familiar with a ring shank nail, do you see the little rings on the shank of the nail? What happens is when these go in, the wood swells around those rings and kind of acts like a screw. All right, so James is going to rip that piece off, and he's also going to cut this end, this overlap here as well. He set his depth at 3/4 of an inch, so he's not digging into any of the framing. James. Hey, James. Show him the speed square trick, dude. Oh. So James is going to put his speed square down there in that gap.
After I cut more.
I think it cuts a little bit more. So he's going to put his speed square like that. So when he gets his cut down to this end, this whole thing constantly is not sagging down on him. It's continuous, acting like it's still completely intact. Go ahead. So James, step down. We're showing these people everything. Pull your saw with you. Now he can continue to cut that way while holding this board with his left hand so it doesn't fall down on it. There it goes. That was nice and easy, huh? Now he's just going to rip this off and we're good to go. All right, so that's how you frame a floor system for a shed. That's going to be a portable shed. This is going to be the end of part 1. We're going to get part 2 will be us laying the walls out, framing the walls, getting the layouts for the walls, measuring for windows and doors so we can make sure our rough opening is where we need it to be. But this concludes the floor system. Hope it helped you out. Make sure you like and subscribe, and check out for the next video. James, come over here with me, buddy. So we're standing on the floor, nice and solid. Good job, buddy.
Job well done.